Greetings and salutations on this Sunday. I'm here again with another live rulebook read along. This time I am reading. Let's see, am I centered? Should I center myself a little bit more? There we go. I'm reading Palms, Passing Parcel and Logistics Guild, a 5th edition supplement by Ryan Hennessy. That's on the DMs Guild. Ryan sent this to me on Facebook and asked me if I want to take a look at it. And he gave me kind of the elevator pitch, which is basically it's about a book, a supplement all about a guild. Seemed pretty interesting. Seemed a difference than some of the other stuff I'd read recently. So I said, of course. And he sent it. And here it is. There is the cover. Let me bring myself in. Oh, where am I? There I am. So the subtitle here is The Life and Times of Being a Courier for the World's Greatest Role-Playing Game. I don't know what that's referring to. So let's dive in there. This is, I think it's a pretty good sized supplement. Link. I actually was thought enough ahead of time to put a link to it on DMs Guild in the description for this. Let me also drop it in the chat just to cover my bases. Let's see if we can do this with a minimum of fuss and muss. Riveting video as I type away. Here, and I shall paste that in. Bam. So it's in the chat. It'll be in the description afterwards once I get this up on YouTube proper, and it is in the description of the stream. So here we go. So we have an intro, humble beginnings. Let's see. We're looking at about 22 pages, probably minus stuff, probably about 18 to 20 pages, right? Once we take into account tables of contents. Whoops, wrong way. Intro. Whoa there, partner. Where are you running off to with that shit? Do you know what you're getting yourself into? Whether this is a one-time gig or a deep dive into our life, you'd best consider what world you're thrusting yourself into. The Palms Passing Parcel and Logistics Guild, as well as being a tongue twister, is an organization that ensures the realms get what they need and the twirl never stops turning. If you stick with it, you will see many foreign lands and some of the most colorful people you can imagine. The package takes priority no matter what, and getting it to its destination requires a certain mentality. By any means necessary. Do you have what it takes? It's really interesting that this came to me recently because the campaign, which I owe an update of like 3 sessions, I'm just behind. Well, they started off as couriers, though they kind of ditched the couriering in rather short order for dungeon delving. But that was their original group occupation. So I kind of wish that maybe I'd seen this a little bit earlier. It might have given me some more ideas. I just had them as just in employ. I didn't think of putting them in some kind of courier guild. But if I had thought about it, I might have, but he was ahead of me on that. So let's see. On the surface, the couriers of the Palms Passing are popular and usually respected no matter where they travel. To see your courier is to know that even the daily chaos of Faerun does not stop the shipments of the world. They are identified by their colorful sashes and designs, but the differences are not well known to the common folk who simply use them to send belated birthday gifts and little knickknacks to relatives. The true meaning of these identifiers is to clue you in on the skill and travel earned worldliness of that particular messenger. The Palms Passing depots and messenger stations are easily spotted in both the largest of cities and the quietest of towns. Everyone needs a package delivered eventually, right? Embroidered banners signify the existence of these stations, depicting 2 hands from opposite sides locked in a handshake. Inside these depots are assortments of packages and items stacked high, constantly being exchanged as the workers within get them in the hands of the couriers responsible for moving them. If you can, I'm not sure if you can see behind me, one of my cats is trying to claw her way in. So if you hear see any phantom doors opening slightly or hear some scratching, it is not a ghost Well, it could be a ghost, but in addition to the possibility that it is a ghost, seeing as we're nearing Halloween, it is Betty, one of my cats. I'm not certain. She's pretty determined, so I'll have to keep an eye on that, see if she creeps in, or whether she gives up and goes back to take a nap. Let us move on. There are now over 1,000 couriers along the Sword Coast alone, and they all vary in terms of skill. Many couriers like the idea of being a more privatized postman, and they deliver at their own leisurely pace. But the true runners can be seen zipping up and down alleys, running across rooftops, and even evading local guards, whom they seem to aggravate with their less standard modes of travel. You see, these couriers are known to deliver anything requested of them, and when they say anything, they mean anything. From doodads to livestock, from sealed documents to magical items, there's nothing they won't deliver as long as the price is right and the chit gets scratched. Members of the Palms Passing Parcel and Logistics Guild are highly diverse and are comprised of all the predominant races on Faerun. Teamwork makes the dream work, and many couriers live solely by that tenet. Coming from many different walks of life, if someone has the urge to strike out on their own and make quite a bit of coin, the guild welcomes them. Well, I don't know what's the over under on how many times I'm gonna be able to say Palms Passing Parcel and Logistics Guild without completely stumbling over my tongue. I think I'm at 3 so far. All right, so we got one more paragraph of that. It's just, some more fluff, but it's giving us the context of what this is all about, which is a Couriers Guild, which is a good way to, a good backdrop for adventures, right? Because, if we think of the ye old fetch quest, delivery quest, this is right up the alley if you want to make that your thing, or if you want to give your players a reason to be going here, there, everywhere. Give them a job. All right, here's the real scoop. The Palms Passing Parcel Logistics Guild is an organization is one that caters to no political leaning, no moral standing, and no religious authority. The package is the only authority, and to get it in the right hands is the courier's only goal. What was that Jason Statham movie? They made a couple of them. Seems like this could be right up that alley. What was it? Someone remembers. Throw it in the chat. I can't remember, but it seems like, that one was driving cars, but essentially that was the same thing, right? You deliver packages and you ask no questions. Deliverers have done deeds that would shock most of the common world, but the necessity of couriers is one that lends itself to most turning a proverbial blind eye with regard to their actions, wherever they operate. Certain couriers are not alone breaking the law to complete their task, and are certainly capable of violence should the time require it. Well-traveled couriers have traversed the entirety of the Sword Coast and back again, with some even ending up delivering to cities within the Underdark. Other couriers have even made their way to the Shadowfell's Gloomwrought and lived to tell the tale. It is these stories that push the average courier to go above and beyond to complete their deliveries. Their bodies may wither and die, but the stories written from their lives and deeds will live on forever. Well, I suppose that's a good goal. We all got to go sometime. So why not do it? Delivering a package. God, it's going to kill me like that stupid Jason Statham movie. I can't remember it. Let's see. All right. So, and then, okay, so there's a little bit more. I'm going to just move along, but we see here at the bottom, we've got that, I want to say logo, but, they're the guild emblem, which is 2 hands shaking, but it's kind of cool because they've got, it looks like they're sort of wings that sort of merge into hands, or we could say feathered arms that come clasping, one black, one gold, perhaps. Palms passing, though I see it below that the gold type on the parchment background does not read particularly well. Humble beginnings. All right, I don't know anything about Faerun dates, but the guild was founded in 84 DR by Cartufius Spiritelson. A young, ambitious entrepreneur who sought to join the ranks of the wealthy merchant lords of Waterdeep, this poor halfling would do anything to climb the social ladder. These hopes were quickly dashed, as in the coming months, the spell plague had begun to ravage Faerun. Let's see. Cartufius, ever the adaptive businessman, saw that with magic failing across the realms, people were in especially dire need of individuals willing to thrust themselves upon the world and deliver their most precious of packages. So there we go. We got a little founding story. I don't know as far as what the current year is in. Not that you can't put your campaigns wherever you want, but just I know that, that as far as the official books, I'm not sure exactly what year it is. So I don't know if that's in a long time ago or fairly recently. We have a little box text surrounded by friends, a fine feast for a fine man who had done fine things for the realms when they had most truly needed it. Lauron Talimbote, most trusted of the Cartufius and director of the Paisley Page Boys. Well, they're all around alliteration. Palms passing, Paisley Page Boys. So I'm assuming that he parlayed a fortune out of a fortune, creating this guild. Calling of the Courier. The mission of the Palms Passing Parcel and Logistics Guild is simple. I'll call that 5 on my over-under list of not messing that up. The package is your purpose, and the destination is the only end game. Ensure that it gets there by any means necessary and live to travel another day. Unlike any and all tools at your disposal, utilize. I'm a little bit, unfortunately, where I have the PDFs a little bit far away, and even with my glasses, it's a little bit small. So I apologize for any other such misreadings likely to come up in the future. Utilize any and all tools at your disposal and do not fear thinking outside of the box. The greatest methodologies are often born out of spontaneous cleverness. Trust your fellow couriers and always help the one behind you, as you will inevitably find yourself in a similar position in the future. This is very true. In all things, you never know when the guy that is asking you for help is going to be the one that will be in position to help you. A good life lesson there for everyone. So here we go. Let's see what the organization. All right, here we go. The Palms Passing Parcel and Logistics Guild. What was that, number 5 or number 6? Encompasses many different roles and career paths for ambitious, career-driven members. The current board of directors is comprised of several of the Cartufius's closest students from when the guild was created. So I guess it's only maybe I know with fantasy races, he's a halfling, so they don't live to be super long, but who knows if some of his students were, dwarves or elves that live long. But I guess we're talking maybe it's 1 generation ago or maybe 1 or 2 generations ago. One step down are retired runners who now make up several yeoman and dispatcher positions who control the day-to-day finances and maintain the constant flow of chits, detailing all deliveries and their terms therein. Last but not least, the most crucial members of the guild that keep Faerun moving, the Couriers. These members possess a variety of skill levels and are ranked by their successful deliveries. Okay, so I don't need to read all of that, but what I do want to see about that. So I guess there's this accessory that's going to be, I guess, somewhat like what the colors of your ye old kung fu or martial arts belt. Let's see. To become familiar with these couriers, their skill levels, and what rank they are, Cartufius devised a simple accessory that will determine all these factors. This accessory comes in the form of a fabric that can be worn in many different stylings, i.e. as a scarf, sash, shawl, etc. The standard size of the cloth is roughly 22 inches wide by 70 inches long, but can be highly customizable to fit the courier's aesthetic and functionality. I've just been watching that documentary, The Vow, and they part of their shtick with the people running their programs was these kind of sashes denoting how advanced you were in their programs. Probably not the thing that he wanted in mind for that to bring up, but just been watching it, so it's fresh in my mind. But it does seem to fit that kind of, I don't know. I don't know what the name of it is, the belt, like karate belts kind of thing. But I like that you can play around with it, wear it different ways. Though I suppose thinking ahead here, would there be confusion if, let's say, your sash was also something that was popular or like pirates might wear or something, or are the colors or some other thing will be there to make sure that someone could tell a courier from just someone with the latest fashion sense? Balancing the books. The Palms Passing Parcel and Logistics Guild, I'm going with say 6 times now without failure, for the past 100 years has made quite the name for itself, with the guild garnering vast wealth from every corner of the material plane. Cartufius had created the structure of the organization after his many failed businesses prior to this venture. He proposed a system that held accountability between the company and its patron above all else. From the smallest postcard to extensive material investitures for the developments of castle battlements, a high level of trust between the two must coexist. Regarding this, the relationship between courier and guild must also be in excellent condition. The Palms Passing Parcel and Logistics Guild lays out several terms for all couriers and their clients. All right, so we're getting into a little bit of the meat of how this is going to work, because as they're saying, this only works if everybody trusts each other. If the clients trust the guild, if the guild trusts the couriers, if the couriers trust all of that. So let's see. So first thing here is payment and prestige. The driving factors for all runners within the guild. Payment, I don't think I need to read through that, right? It's currency. How much cash are you getting for this? Prestige is the monitored reputation of that specific courier within the Palms Passing. The markers, which are represented as guild credits, prove the experience of the courier, providing reputation and the ability to move through the ranks of the guild. Certain prestige markers are required at every rank to move on to the next. Okay, so this, to me, I guess this is the more important one, right? I mean, yeah, we can all put gold piece or silver piece values on things, but as far as a supplement, as this guild as a thing, what we really want to read about is how do you move along the guild? How does that work? And they have these markers, and here we have some text, some marked out text on markers. Invisible but powerful, these collected tokens serve as constant reminders of where the next goalpost is for the courier. One cannot simply jump into Mordor or from a Paisley page boy to a Darnask deliverer. These prestige markers are highly coveted, and the couriers with the most carry a large weight of respect within the Palms Passing Parcel and Logistics Guild. I think, or was that 8? Was that 8 or 9? I don't know. I'm good. I know I'm starting to get overconfident with my pronunciation of that, so it will likely fail me next. But let's see if I can hold out. For every successful delivery, a courier is rewarded prestige markers that are logged within their employee's record. Failed deliveries and damaged cargo will also impact the prestige awarded as well. All these successes and failures can have multiple variables that will affect the result as well. As they advance, couriers are gifted with new items that will aid them in their journeys and new techniques to be learned as a world climber. Okay, world climber. All right, so very basic, but it does give the outline of the kind of rewards one can expect if one were in the guild and then one were taking on these jobs. So if you complete jobs, you get markers. Markers will, I guess, get you up levels in the guild, and getting you up levels in the guild will unlock obviously just the prestige of whatever your new rank is, but also the fact that you could actually get gear, things to help you, and particularly techniques, which I find interesting. I'm curious how that's going to work. But it seems like techniques, is that going to be skills you can learn or abilities or feats? It'll be interesting to see what those shake out to be. All delivery costs will be split 60-40 courier company. This is usually the standard payment ratio for routine deliveries. This percentage is negotiable depending on the value of the package and delivery terms, which can be dictated by the client. A routine delivery requires the full payment be made up front to the Palms Passing by the client, whom will then hold the courier's payment until the client chit is scratched and returned to a depot dispatcher. A scratched chit with a checked quality box will dictate the payment of the courier and the prestige award. Okay, that's interesting. So I guess they're, well, I guess at least for smaller things, you're going to pay up front, but you don't get paid until you get this chit back. I wonder, and I guess we'll see, right? What kind of security is around this chit? Is it really just something that you're just, scratching? Because couldn't you just kill the client, scratch the chit, and just do that? But I'm assuming they thought about that. Cartufius certainly was too wise to fall for such a simple ruse. For example, a client at Neverwinter requests that a letter that they have dropped off at their local postage depot be delivered to a local mill in Phandalin. The courier will receive the chit from the dispatcher, plan their route, and make their way to the designated place. If the courier were smart, they would attempt to procure other chits destined for and around the area as to maximize their journey and efforts. That is a smart play. After a 3 days journey, the courier encounters no issues on the road and their letter remains intact and in pristine condition. The delivery is completed. A happy client scratches the chit and checks the quality box, excellent, of their received delivery, which in this case is the letter. The courier will then report to the local depot and turn in their chit, where they will be allocated their payment and prestige markers. The payment and prestige gained are generally small, but can reach a middling rate. Okay, so here we see the general procedures. So you're going to go do your thing, make your delivery. The client's happy, they sign off, but you don't actually get anything until you take it back to wherever the dispatcher is, and they give you your prestige and your cash. And we have some tables here, routine delivery chits. Whoa, letters, sealed document, 10 silver pieces to 5 gold pieces. Goodness, that ain't much. 10 copper pieces? How far is that letter going? Down the block? Man, I don't know. I would think Neverwinter to Phandalin. I'm not going to say that I've memorized the distances in the Sword Coast or really anywhere in Faerun, but I feel like that would have to be a 5 GP one, right? I mean, that's 3 days. Just staying in an inn for a couple of days would get you. Oops. Let's see. Okay, so YouTube had a hiccup there. Hopefully it wasn't too evident. I was going to say, I wouldn't mind seeing some kind of distance to give an idea of, excuse me, to give you an idea of where in that range some things would be. Their example, they didn't say how much they got paid. So I can't use that as a baseline. It would have been nice if in that example they put this was a 3 gold piece job or a 1 gold piece job or whatever. So it definitely makes sense looking at those payments that if you're making that kind of run, you'd want to line up multiple ones because otherwise you're not making much money on those. But I suppose maybe you're doing it for the prestige, right? It's kind of like you're an intern and you're doing that intern thing. You're just doing all this work. You're doing it because you're hoping to get up to the next level and all that hard work will pay off. So those are routine delivery chits. And again, those had letters, sealed documents, small, medium packages, large packages, sensitive materials, livestock, animals. Then we have some specialty delivery chits, sensitive documents, contraband, jewelries, antiques, destructive armaments. I'm not sure what that is. Persons. Destructive armament. What would a destructive armament? Is that just weapons? Because it has like an explosive. Would a destructive armament be explosive? Or that just, I don't know. That's an interesting way of putting that because it definitely is. It gives a vivid idea of what it could be. But destructive armaments is kind of vague to the point that would armor count as a destructive armament? I mean, is that a gun? Is that a bomb? I don't know. Anyhow, but then we see an idea. So I guess people are sort of at the top end. 50, I guess those platinum pieces to 500 platinum pieces. Jewelry or antiques in the 200 gold piece to 1,000 gold piece range. Okay. And definitely a lot more prestige markers. We don't know the scale yet of the prestige markers, but I'm guessing that obviously 46 to 50 seems like a good haul because it would have to be because that's the highest payment one, and obviously the low end 1 to 5. But we don't know how many it takes us to get from one level to another, so we'll have to wait and see on that. All right, so here's some box text about quality reviews on chits. Every chit produced by the Palms Passing has a quality review checkbox on them. They range from poor, fair, average, good, and excellent. This is like got a little Faerun eBay thing going on there, right? I'm like, how well used is this item? Poor, fair, average, good, and excellent. These checkoffs yield not Chekhov from the Star Trek Enterprise, or yes, Starship Enterprise, but check off yield the varying prestige marker rewards as listed in the table above. Okay, so now we know the difference between, say, getting a 1 or a 5 is 1 is for poor, 2 fair, 3 average, 4 good, and 5 excellent. But interestingly enough, it's only a 5 prestige marker swing from poor to excellent. And again, I don't know enough, but does that make sense that if I'm bringing in a person and I was going to get 50 if they were in excellent condition, but I decided to just beat the heck out of them because I'm a murder hobo. And so they're just clinging to life when I drop their unconscious body in front of the client. I only lost 4 prestige markers. I'm not sure that feels like enough, but again, I don't know the scale yet. Here's a DM's tip. With creative application, there may be additional ways or resources that allow couriers to receive prestige besides just completing chits, such as leaving items for other couriers via vault rigs, flagging safe routes, and etc. Well, hopefully they'll detail those because those sound interesting. And it definitely seems like those hint at other possibilities besides just being couriers. I like the idea of a vault rig, but obviously we have no idea what that is yet, unless that's a Faerun thing that I just don't know. We have another example, and I'm going to guess that this example will also not give us any hard amounts, but let's see what it says. A client from Baldur's Gate requests a courier pick up the package from their property and requests that it be initially dropped off in Baragost to be inspected by a specialty merchant. Once the inspection is completed, it will then be taken to a petitioner camped outside of Candlekeep so that they may enter. This assignment contains several steps that the courier must take in order to have it wholly completed. Again, for perspective, the courier enacts all the steps to the best of their ability and the delivery is completed. Upon returning to the next postal depot, they'll be given their payment and prestige markers. The payment and prestige gain can range from middling to large rates. Okay, so I like those examples. I'm always down with examples. However, I need a little more detail in those examples they're not giving me. I would have liked to have seen the whole thing. So we have these tables, but they haven't really related these things to the tables. I would have liked some text saying this is considered a sensitive material package type, some way to figure out, okay, the distances involved, the steps involved mean that this sensitive material would be on the whatever payment type and this many prestige markers, blah, blah. So I like the examples, but they're just examples in the fluff where I would have liked to tie those examples into the mechanics a bit more. But otherwise, they're good. Okay, so here we get into the rankings. As you continue to flit through this booklet, I, sir, do not flit. I may page, but I do not flit. I may thumb, in fact, through the pages, but I do not flit. The next few pages will begin to outline the rankings of the couriers, their insignias, and who represents them within this guild. All right, so here we have the first one, which they've mentioned a couple times, the Paisley Page Boys. Let's see. Starting rank, begin monitoring prestige markers here. So I guess this is where you would start off for. I think that's what that means, is they're saying that if you begin, your first rank in this courier guild is one of the Paisley Page Boys. Which keeps making me think of Prince. Maybe you have to bathe in the waters of the Minnetonka to join the Paisley Page Boys. Paisley patterns use stylized teardrop-shaped motifs with curved upper ends. Well, that's very true. Let's see. Becoming a courier. The definition of a courier, a messenger, usually traveling in haste, bearing urgent news, important reports, or packages, diplomatic messages, etc. That's also true. So the Paisley Page Boys are the first rank, and I guess they use a Paisley pattern. They function as the very beginning rank for the Palms Passing Guild and are the largest group of members by percentage. To become a Paisley Page Boy is simple. Walk down to your local or nearest PPP and LG depot, complete your courier jacket, receive a routine delivery chit and associated package from your dispatcher, and deliver your passage successfully without any harm coming to the goods in question. Once a chit is scratched, the page boy will return to the dispatcher and have their success recorded. Board director and former dispatcher Laurent Talambout represents the page boys within the guild. He often holds seminars in Waterdeep at the Sprittelson Manor to start the newcomers in understanding the history of the Palms Passing and World Climber beginner techniques. Okay, so you're going to start off, if you want in, all you have to do is deliver a package. You'll get your Paisley slash, get your chit scratched. I love the idea of the chit, but that phrase chit scratch just seems like it could have any number of meanings that I won't get into, but it's like, a sailor comes into town. Where can I get my chit scratched? All right. There's the page boys. So here we have the Toile Travelers. Toile. Toile Travelers. You have to get 250 prestige marks. All right. So I just want to back up for a second because we start at 0 with Paisley. 250 prestige markers. That's a lot. That's a ton of routine kind of deliveries. That's even if you get the max for livestock animals, that's still a bunch. And even specialty ones, that's like 5 of the 5 people deliveries. All right, so this is not it's not a short haul up the chain. But I suppose if you can knock out multiple deliveries at once, like they mentioned, you may be able to shortcut it a bit, but that's a good amount of work you're going to have to put in. The Toile de Joie pattern features a floral theme, typically of the Dalelands countryside, and mostly appears as a light blue on a white background. This pattern is usually seen printed on hemp fabric. Okay, so I guess the big thing here is the pattern. So I was thinking, colors like in karate or similar martial arts with the sashes, but here they're doing patterns. Let's see what they have to say about the Toile Travelers. Let's see. The 12 travelers are moving up in the guild at this rank as the secrets of the world climber start to unravel ever so slightly for them. No longer a beginner, but not quite a journeyman, the common traveler has moved beyond delivering simple package and is taking assignments that require him to trek across foreign landscapes. And then we have a NPC, the board director Callio, a turtle traveler who took the position to ensure most Palms Passing members are represented well in the guild and can be trained accordingly. So it looks like we're only getting very kind of capsule. I wonder if there'll be an NPC section. There's a lot of white space here. I feel like they maybe could have put given some stats or something more on this board director in this space, since there's a lot of space here. The OG Outgoers is next. So that one you need 600. So it's 250 to the first step, and then another 450 to the second step, or third step, I guess. Jackpot Oberhan is the director. Bander Jackpot Oberhan to you. An open pattern is a double contiguous S. An OG pattern is a double contiguous S-shaped curve with arcs that turn in opposite directions. It would be nice to see the patterns too. I mean, the descriptions are good. I'm not gonna say I don't like the descriptions, but I might have liked just actually seeing them. I'm not sure if some of those I recognize. Obviously, I know the Paisley. I think I've seen 12 before. OG doesn't ring a particular bell, but giving it that visual, I think would help if I'm a GM and I'm running something and I just need to, maybe I roll up with a random guy and I want to describe him. I could just say you see the OG pattern on there. I assume it's OG and not OG, but I don't know. But it would be nice just to see it. Or even if there was one page. Excuse me, my drink went down the wrong pipe a little bit. One page with just a summary of all these different ones, like a little, give me a little graphic with here a little bit of the pattern, and here's the name and the rank, and just give me a page. I could list some, and of course there might be one, just haven't seen it yet. We have another DM's tip here for the OG Outgoers. They're also known to move into the dispatcher position. Should a player choose that as a path for their courier, feel free to use all the information in the supplement to create context for that player and how their adventures will continue. I'd be curious to know what a dispatcher adventure would be like, because you're not actually going out and running things, but you're dispatching others to run. Unless you're getting at that kind of political world, and of course it's just the kind of, maybe it's almost like getting into a domain type game, but for the couriers. Okay, we have the Damask Deliverers. Needs 1,200. So the pace of how much you need to go up each level is increasing, right? It was 250, 450, now it's 600. But then it's just, hold on a minute. Are these two? Because it looks like they're two on this page, and they both say upgrade to at 1,200 prestige marker. So does this mean that we have a choice? Is this a proverbial fork in the road? Okay, so the Damask Deliverers are the cream of the crop when it comes to their ability to navigate their way across any and all terrain. All right. So who are the other one? The Chinoiserie Channelers would take high offense to any notion of being referred to as second rank, as they are some of the most talented world climber practitioners in the guild. Okay, but what separates them? Okay, so a Chinoiserie Channeler is a master of camouflage in urban environments as well as wild terrain. And then on the other hand, those that have attained the rank of Damask Deliverer have likely mastered the terrain manipulation techniques of the world climber and actively try to invent new techniques and manipulate existing ones to ease their travels. Okay, we don't really have any idea what world climber is yet, so I'm not sure what that is. I don't know if these are, it would have been nice to have a little bit of an explanation as to these, it's a choice, or, you know, is one for more of one kind of class, or is one for another, or what's the deal is. But because they're, I mean, in order wise, it's Damask and then Chinoiserie, but then that one says it's, don't call them second rank. Does that mean that Damask are third rank? Does that mean that they're competing? And I would even, it wouldn't even be a bad thing if at this point you had to do something else besides just having the markers. Like, you have to have the markers, and then you have to accomplish something else, and then you get in here. So then that would give us an idea of what they're about. And who knows, maybe we'll see it. Let's move along. Oh, that's it. All right, so I'm guessing these two are the top of the mountain, so to speak. But it's a little bit unclear what the end hierarchy is. Seems like maybe Damask ends up being the highest one, but I don't know why then we read them in reverse order on this page, since we've been going from low rank to high rank. I don't know why they did that. But it's a small matter. Okay, the principles of the courier. Ensure that the package is delivered in superb condition by any means necessary. Never under any circumstances will a courier open or utilize the contents of their delivery unless stated in the terms of the chit. If a delivery chit is entrusted to a courier, it is meant to be completed. Follow the rules of the realms you traverse until it interferes with the principle 1. Teamwork makes the dream work. It's a little too, I mean, it's a good turn of phrase, I suppose, but I feel like it's a little too anachronistic. It speaks too much to our world. But, you know, so I would have come up with something else. But that's just me. There will always be couriers ahead or behind you. Do your best to help them. Yeah, help your fellow couriers, right? Should any of these rules be openly disrespected and the guild's good name tarnished due to the behavior of a courier, that member will be subject to rank demotion, prestige docking, decline of payments, and even blacklisting from the guild itself. So one cool thing here is here we have these principles of the guild. And I'm thinking ahead. I haven't looked ahead. I have no idea. But man, I'm just seeing, you know, we have things, paladins, right? The paladin that has a code. This would be great as to, you could be a paladin. That's the code of the courier. And it's right here. You have these very specific rules, and it would fit right in. If you wanted to do a courier campaign, you could have a paladin code for it. But I don't know yet if it exists, but if there's no paladin kind of code in there, or a way to tie that in like that, I think it's a missed opportunity. Here we have a DM's tip. I recommend every player who wants to play a courier in this fine guild to maintain their own prestige marker counters on their own character sheet. Let's not inundate your DM with more numbers to manage. This will lighten their workload and there's usually a decent space under your XP counter to fit that in as well. That's very, very sweet and thoughtful of you. As for the DM reading the supplement, I urge you to thrust your players into precarious scenarios and realms that don't exactly cater to individuals who skirt their laws. Prestige markers come and go, but legends last forever. Yeah, put people in jeopardy. You know, it would be cool. Obviously, we're in the age of COVID, so a lot of games are being played online, and I suppose presumably someone could make something, but we need to actually have chits that you could actually keep track of. I mean, maybe eventually it would become too much of a hassle if you had a ton of chits, but it seems like a really great way to have a little physical prop for your games, to kind of create a little chit, have them printed out, and then mark them up and return them. You could even have the players hold on to them. Just, you know, it would be kind of a fun thing, right? If you were at a table you're playing and say, here, I have these, here's your chit, but we're not going to resolve it until next week, but it's up to you to make sure that you keep that chit safe and bring it back to me, because next week when we sit down, when we go to the guild, the postal depot, I'm going to ask you, player, for your physical chit. And if you've forgotten it, if you've lost it, whatever's happened, well, then you're just out of luck. That'll be a kind of a fun, it could be a fun way to manage those kinds of, I mean, it doesn't help with the prestige marker numbers, but it's just a way of kind of having a fun way to visualize and give a tactile feel to creating or to finishing these or running these courier missions, deliveries, things, tools of the trade. All right. Okay, so here's some, looks like some magic or potentially magic items that you can get at different ranks. Let's see. We have the telescoping ladder available at Twal Traveler rank, 125 GP standard. What does that mean, standard? To the naked eye, this bundle of rods roped together often sits comfortably on the outside of most satchels. Once utilized, this tool folds out into a ladder that varies in height. At its maximum height, it reaches roughly 50 feet in length and weighs roughly 40 pounds. These telescoping ladders are manufactured and mechanized in the village of Oakhurst, north of Neverwinter. In Cartufius's many travels, he found himself in the area and needing something stable to get him up and over various rolling ravines nearby. The fabled wood of this area constructs beautifully into this versatile tool that can act as its typical function as a ladder, but can even be used as a makeshift bridge to cross over gaps and difficult terrain. Utilizing just this tool alone offers plenty of opportunity for your efforts to go wrong, but in conjunction with a clam harness provides much more stability for the courier. All right, it needs athletics or acrobatics. It can assist in certain terrain DC checks. And then you can use it with the clam harness. It provides a positive modifier to any checks. And that modifier increases as if you go up a couple levels. So there we go. The telescoping ladder. Available to the Twal Traveler. Then we have the clam harness, which you can also get at Twal Traveler. I guess, so they said earlier that you could get stuff. So it seems like maybe you'll have the ability to buy stuff at different levels. And maybe they're not going to give it to you. Otherwise, I'm not sure why they would put the gold piece price tags on there. It's a harness equipped by stepping through its straps and being clamped at the waist of the courier. Most commonly, it is used with the Twal Traveler at the Twal Traveler rank together with the telescoping ladder. Along the belt of the harness are various clips and loops that can be used in combination with varying equipment. So it's kind of a, it's a climbing kind of harness rig. Kind of, what the carabiner style stuff all over the board. Just a utility, I guess a general utility vest. So you can use it with a telescoping ladder. You do need to have an intelligence check to equip it properly, but it's only a DC 10. And then, but if you fail, you've put it on wrong and you get a disadvantage. Here's the vault rig. I was definitely interested in the vault rig. Available also at the Twal Traveler rank, worth 40 gold pieces. The vault rig is for you, your friend, and the other guy who will eventually travel your path. Installing a vault rig means digging a hole or finding an area where you can sink the rig in securely. The vault rig can be opened via the command phrase, by any means necessary, and the contents will be available to be withdrawn where items can be deposited for your fellow couriers. All right, that's cool. Though I kind of feel like what would prevent somebody enterprising from just figuring out that phrase and just going and opening up all the vault rigs? I mean, hey, look, there's a little adventure right there. Freebie adventure. You're a courier, but you've been sent on a task to find the guy who's stealing stuff from all the vault rings because they can just say by any means necessary. All right, they can contain up to 10 small items, and it requires a DC 10 to install intelligence check to install properly. It's a cool idea. I mean, it's like you've got this little box, and this is where again, I don't know if it's going to be later in this guide, but if you had your version of kind of what thieves can or hobo marks or something that would tell people, ideally, obviously just couriers, kind of where these rigs are located, and you can have it in there. And of course, there is a danger because it is a simple command phrase. To open it could be stolen by either just couriers who are dastardly, though it seems like they'd be kind of blowing their own spot like that. But I dig it. Okay. At the OG outgoing rank, you can pick up the Egghead Monocular. Wow, 1,500 gold pieces this time. It's basically a spyglass, and it's got an armor class of 15 and 15 hit points if people are trying to smash it. But why would you want to smash an Egghead Monocular? Who would do such a thing? When looking through the spyglass, one can magnify their vision up to 4 times the normal amount. There's a magnify adjuster knob. The enhanced vision provided by the Egghead Monocular, once used to determine a route to travel, will give the courier advantage on checks needed to cross obstacles located in the next 8 miles, if used for at least 1 minute at maximum magnification to check the terrain ahead. So I think that'll be a little more complicated in practice, because if you're in a forest, you can't really see 8 miles. But presumably, if you can get to somewhere where you have a good eyesight, eye line, it seems like a cool thing. And it's not too much. It just is an item. I like it. Get a little advantage, but it doesn't work forever. It's just for 8 miles. And, you have to kind of get into a spot and use it. It's only a minute, so it's not like you're putting yourself at huge risk by doing that. But it is something you do have to sit out there, at least somewhat in the open. Or at least, you could be behind cover, crouching, whatever, but you can't be totally hidden. You have to actually be looking. Gives advantage on perception checks while the monocular is in use at maximum magnification to detect hostile creatures or ambushes for the next 8 miles of travel. Can be done while simultaneously checking for obstacles for 1 minute. I think I would like something that says that if you're looking in the monocular doing this stuff, then you have disadvantage on things outside. Or, if you're looking in that spyglass and you're concentrating at that maximum magnification, I don't think you should, I feel like you would tune out the stuff around you. Maybe I would write that in there. It's just a little, because I kind of feel like saying, okay, for a minute, and that's supposed to be probably meaningful, like, oh, you have to be out there for a minute. But as written, it doesn't really say or even suggest that you might be in a disadvantaged spot for a minute. So I would write in that, hey, while you're looking through this thing at maximum magnification and you're getting these nice things lined up, you're losing sight of the stuff that's in your more immediate surroundings. Next up, friction cleats. We're also at the OG outgoer rank, only 450 gold piece standard. I say only, but the monocular was 1,500 gold pieces. What is it? It's an advanced tool. Of those that follow the world climber, these cleats can be fitted to any boot worn by the courier. A trifecta of rubber, chain, and small steel spikes. The friction cleats provide any and all traction in almost every scenario a courier can think of. All right, so you're basically getting those kind of climbing boots add-ons. I think I had my grandmother's house. There's an old pair of those things. I think that was more for walking on ice and stuff, but same kind of thing, right? You just slide your boots into it. It's got some kind of something to fit your shoe in, and it's got little spikes on there. All right, what kind of things can we do with it? Utilizing this tool in any environment listed in the terrain table. Oh, there's a terrain table. Will provide a +4 modifier to athletics ability checks, okay, or saving throws to prevent slips and falls. Use the item in combination with the crack climbing gloves, eliminates the need to roll for a check to climb, and instead grants a 10-foot climbing speed. Okay. And that's up next. Crack climbing gloves. 500 gold pieces, also at the OG outgoer rank. I guess the one thing with these is, so essentially what we're saying here is you are spending 900 gold pieces. Obviously, you have to be at this rank, but basically 900 gold pieces just eliminates climb checks. I might put some limits on that. Not that I'm necessarily anti that, because it's cool to gain a climbing speed, but none of these two, and nothing has come up as magical, and not everything will putting spikes on your gloves and your boots is going to get you so far with some things. But there are some materials, particularly when we're in a medieval world, you might have magical medieval world, you might have lots of it's just flat stone. I don't know how sharp or if you have non-magic spikes are going to get you up that wall. So it's giving you the climbing speed, and essentially you spend a little bit under 1,000 gold and you just gain climbing speed. Might be a little bit much. And can you just buy, like, if one party member gets that and no one else is cursed, can they just buy 5 or however many sets and just hand them out to everybody? Here, cleats and gloves for everybody. So I might moderate that slightly, but it is a cool thing. One note here, you must continue to move upward on each turn when you initiate your ascension up wherever you are climbing in order to continue utilizing your climb speed. Otherwise, you slide 25 feet before being able to anchor yourself. Okay, so you do have to keep moving. You can't just, you're not Spider-Man. Still. All right. Those are the crack climbing gloves. We have Aero driver pythons. Pythons. Now we get to the fun toys. Oh, this one you have to be a chinoiserie channeler and Damask deliverer ranks. 1,000 GP standard. Is it and or? I don't think you can be. You're saying you have to be both? Yeah, that's another. I think they need to clarify that bit with those last 2 ranks as to exactly how they work. Now we get to the fun part. The Aero driver pythons. I don't know. I don't think I've ever heard someone say that. I don't have mountain climbing friends. Like any journey, a cinch for couriers in any environment. Utilizing a pair of Aero driver pythons grants the user a 25-foot climbing speed. When targeting an object or surface with a spring-loaded arrow, the attack automatically hits unless the surface is lead or adamantine. An Aero driver python can also be used as a weapon and close range and does a total of 2d4 damage if successful. This is classified as an improvised melee weapon. All right. I guess let me read a little bit more about it. Let's see. The Aero driver pythons are a mastercraft tool that will get you up and over anything in your way. A fan favorite of the chinoiserie channelers, these pythons resemble the amalgamation of steel and expertise machining. I think they mean expert machining. And are tipped with an extremely sharp arrowhead, which is spring-loaded into the handle when approaching a surface. Oh, I see. It's kind of you're going to hit it and kind of bolt in. Methinks I understand a little bit better now. I'm still curious. I don't know. I almost would want it just to say, hey, this is a little bit magical. Might be easier for me to wrap my head around, but still, you get a 25-foot climbing speed. Oh, let's see. Does it say you have to wear any of the other things? But okay, it is compatible with the clam harness, right? Let's see, utilizing, okay, yep, you get the 25-foot climbing speed when targeting an object. Okay, we already saw this. Okay, so it's essentially once you get up to this other rank, you then get a little bit better. You go from that 10-foot climbing speed to being able to, I think you only have to use 1 item. Hey, there's Betty. Hi, Betty. I'm doing something though, Betty. I know, Betty, but I'm doing something. I'm reading Betty. Betty the cat finally just pushed her way in. So apologize for any cat noises you may hear in the background, or you might see her flash of gray and white fur behind me. That is her. All right, so the Aero driver pythons just you get to take your climb speed up a notch. I might I don't know. The other thing I don't have a good feel for is what level you're at when you're getting this stuff, because that's going to make a big difference as to what seems overpowered or not. If you're getting this at 3rd level, I might think like, yeah, that maybe that climbing speed's a lot without saying, okay, it takes this long to put them on or other things. Does it make noise? Because it's basically got these spring-loaded things that are going to be jabbing in the wall. I'd like to know a little bit more about that. But if you're getting it at 10th level, at that point, you're really in a different world as far as your abilities and spells and magic items that are available to you. So maybe at that point you go, oh, it's almost not strong enough for that. But we don't have a good sense of where these ranks and these things open up compared to class levels, at least not yet. Now we get True Nightshades. This one's available at Chinoiserie Channeler rank 2000 GP standard. Okay, so these are magical. It says right in the front, magically infused and gifted by the Varti of the Plane of Air to Cartufius personally. Cartufius. These goggles will ensure sight in even the darkest of places. Okay, so it's really it's amped up night vision or dark vision. It does require attunement. When attuned, the user gains a maximum of 200 feet of dark vision. Holy cannoli. That's a lot of dark vision. Man, I would have thought 120 feet would have been sufficient. 200. Utilizing this tool provides the Courier with a +5 modifier to perception ability checks that rely on sight. If utilizing this tool in direct sunlight or around bright light generated in any fashion, the Courier will suffer from the blinded condition for 1 minute. All right, well, that's good. So there's a countermeasure. If you see one of these guys coming at you with those shades on and you have access to sunlight or something large and flashy, then you can blind them for a minute. So at least there's a little downside. That's 200 feet of dark vision is a lot to me. But other than that, it seems pretty cool. And, you got to be that chinoiserie channeler. So the driver Python said you had to be the channeler and the deliverer. This one just says the channeler. I still don't understand quite how those two ranks play off each other, but I won't belabor it. I just think it needs to be clarified. We have the Ghillie Morph Cloak, which is also at a chinoiserie channeler rank. This one's 2800 GP. It's another fan favorite. Provide all the camouflage the Courier needs. Is this one magic? This one does not seem to be magic. Okay, so I know what a Ghillie suit is. So I'm assuming this cloak is similar. So okay, grants the Courier +10 modifier to all stealth ability checks. Utilizing this tool against stone, brick, or surfaces that have very specific exteriors, the cloak simply mimics the color of desired material. When using this cloak to hide as an action, creatures cannot track you by sense of smell, as the cloak mimics an aromatic smell of the flora and fauna native to the region and time of year, masking your sense completely. Well, that's interesting. So it is magical. I guess it's a morph cloak. I should have thought it was magical. It just didn't say so. I guess it must not require attunement. They didn't say anything. Man, that's a lot. I mean, that's some good stuff in there, right? That is some good stuff. It's not cheap. I'm trying to see if it says anything. Yeah, I don't know. It seems like a lot. No particular drawbacks. I would say maybe require attunement. I don't know. I'm not the great look. Mea culpa, I'm just going to say right here, I am not the best at, I feel like my sense of balance is probably at a lower level than others. And I don't have a running table in my brain about all the different magic items that have been released and where they are, high, low. I kind of feel like you need attunement. You should have attunement for that, but they don't. That's all right. Well, we got more. The Carrier Sleigh. 1500 GP, got to be a Damask deliverer. Sleigh. 150-pound carrying capacity. It also increases your drag capacity by 200 pounds. It's overloaded. Let's see, the Courier is reduced to a 10-foot walking speed. Oh, I see. So I guess he doesn't come with, it's not a self-driving sleigh. The Carrier Sleigh is considered a medium-sized land vehicle. Okay. So this is basically, I'm in Brooklyn, so I see all the time. Again, if you're I don't know if they do this in suburban areas, but I know that, say Massachusetts, when I'm up there, the mailman just drives his truck up, drops the mail, drives the truck off. And I'm in Brooklyn. they will drive the truck up, and then often they'll have the guy carrying basically a hand cart that's got the 2 blue U.S. mail bags on the other side, and they'll bring that in, and they'll in the building and be doing all their stuff. This seems like this is basically the fantasy equivalent of that. I'm guessing no wheels, but it's a sleigh, so it's just on sort of those skis thing. But that's cool. Definitely could be the fantasy postman. Be wary of your loadout, traveler. Outside of these advanced items and the rankings required to use them, you have more common items that will make your journeys much more expeditious in nature if used carefully. There are various places you can pick these items up, shops around town or the ones that are sponsored within the depots, leftover supplies that other couriers no longer have use for, or the vault rigs that can be potentially found along the way during your deliveries. The DM should devise several tables to provide the player with items found in the latter fashion. Outside the advanced items determined by their ranking, a courier's pack should always be custom to themselves, but should hark on the standard setup. Is that how hark is used? Hark, the herald angel sings. Here's my standard setup. Looks something like this. Okay, general loadout, backpack, climber's kit, bedroll, explorer's pack, tent, loadout extras, torches, colored ribbons, parchments, ink, quill, and ink. Maybe just put quill and ink, and a shovel. Those are good. I figure, and maybe they will, but I think yes, that's the DM. As a DM, I could devise several tables for items found in vault rigs, but I would kind of hope that in this supplement you would give me some tables I can use by default if I don't have time or I'm caught unawares. Help me out. Maybe they did, maybe they didn't, but another one of those, a little bit of a missed opportunity there if they didn't. Cliff Shield, available at the Damas Delivery rank, 2,500 GPs again. The ultimate tool of the ever-nomadic Damas Deliverers. Its many purposes prove essential to any and all deliveries for its user. Lining the bottom of the shield are numerous serrated teeth. When thrust into stone, dirt, wood, or various other materials, sink right in. The shield extends via its internal gears, providing a much larger area of coverage as it is grown taller and creates several different applications. Oh my gosh. Standing up when the shield is thrust into the ground, it can be used in combat as half cover. Janus Toughhoof was famous for surviving several trebuchet loads behind his trusty cliff shield during the siege of Lanton. Another application is in combination with the Aero driver pythons and clam harness. The carrier can scale a cliff face with their pythons, but if night falls or the courier begins to feel the effects of exhaustion, it might be best for them to camp out. This is where the cliff shield comes into play, as it can be sunk deeply into the cliff face and rigged by a pair of Aero driver pythons to provide support for the courier and their packages to rest upon like a floating floor. I'm not sure that I would trust that, but all right, so is this magical or is it not? I think this is one of the things, again, where I would like to just tell me it's magical or tell me it is mundane, because it feels like if you're able to jab this in basically any substance, and granted it's got gears, but still that kind of sells me magic, but it doesn't say it, so what am I supposed to think? When this item is used in the hands of the courier as an equipped shield, it provides a +4 AC, but requires a strength score of at least 16 to be used effectively. What's a shield is usually, is it +1 or +2 these days? +4? It seems like a lot. You got to have 16 strength, but I feel like a lot of folks are going to have 16 strength. An action can be used to plant the shield into the ground, extend the shield to its maximum height, and create 3/4 cover. The shield is now stationary, and an action must be used to remove it. I kind of think it should be more than an action. So I don't mind that. It's got kind of an interesting transformer aspect to it, but an action seems like it's doing this really fast. I mean, keeping in mind, an action's only 3 or 6 seconds or so. It's not a long period of time. It can be used as a structure to short or long rests upon if seated properly in a sturdy tree, cliff face, etc. This takes a strength DC check of 15 to accomplish. On a successful check, the cliff shield is seated perfectly and provides ample support for the courier. On a failed check, the cliff shield hangs off kilter and only allows time for a short rest before it must be readjusted with now a DC check of 20 or packed away for the courier to move. That's kind of interesting. So I guess the offshoot of that is that they're going to see it. There's not any room for tomfoolery there as far as them bedding down for the night and then the shield giveaway, because they're going to see that it's not seated properly, so they can only get a short rest. So it's an interesting way to do it. But nothing in there if it's magic or not. I would think it's magic. All right, here we got some Dungeon Master stuff. The life of a Dungeon Master and their mailmen. We spent a few hours here during this seminar discussing how the couriers will live and succeed by the creed of the palms passing. But the ones dispatching them might need a bit of guidance themselves. Couriers, please take a moment to step outside and get a breath of fresh air. Now that we're alone, we will need to go over what will be the best assignments for your couriers. Your job as Dungeon Master and Dispatcher will be to push your runners to the furthest reaches of the world and reveal its splendors to them. To breathe life into an occupation otherwise treated thanklessly in a world of god slayers and dragon tamers is quite the endeavor. I have no doubt that you will hit the mark every time, even though some couriers need to be reminded of what can be done to help their fellow guild mates. But just in case you might need a little direction in the way of lighting up your courier's life, light up my life, why don't you take a look at the adventure hooks provided below? Make them the spotlight of your runner's career, or even create a little solo quest for them to get swept up in during one of their deliveries. There's definitely something for someone. See, I was going to say something for everyone, something for someone. There's always another package, always another path undiscovered. Bum, 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 bum. All right. You know I love tables. If you followed any of my videos, you know that I love tables. So here we're getting some tables. Random effects tables. Parenthetically various terrains. In this section, you will find some random encounters for several different terrains that a player might find themselves thrust upon. They are designed to fit snugly into all available locations within the Forgotten Realms, Ravenloft, Eberron, and etc. I think it might just say Eberron, etc. These effects and encounters can also be exchanged for anything the DM would like to see happen in their stead. But perfectly fine. I always wonder why we always have to put, hey, but to remind the GMs they can do whatever they want if they want to. I mean, don't GMs know that they can ignore the table or insert their own? I mean, maybe it's not a bad thing because you never know if someone reading it is new or old or whatnot, but I always find it's always interesting thing that, we have to remind the GM that they can use their own or do their own. I've been guilty of writing that myself, so I guess something we all feel we want to make sure the DMs are aware of. But hey, DMs, if you don't like something in the books, be they tables, be it something else, change it. Don't be afraid. All right, so we have forest terrain. Roll a d10. So I guess they haven't said much about what. I mean, we know that they're supposed to fit into the terrains, but they don't really say much of what they're supposed to do. Is this supposed to be for an encounter? Is it supposed to be for a puzzle? Let's read a couple. I'm not going to read all of them because there are nice little paragraphs, so we are getting a little bit of meat here on the bones, so to speak. But I'll read. Let's see the first one, which would be if you rolled a 1 on this d10. In the forest, trees use thick, tough roots that just ride above ground to steady themselves against the harsh conditions of the wilderness. Courier must make a DC 12 perception check. On a successful check, the courier can see the roots and safely avoid them. On a failed check, the courier trips, taking 1d8 bludgeoning damage and is now prone. Holy cow, 1d8 bludgeoning damage? That seems like a lot. I mean, how long is that supposed to last for? I mean, that's a whole hex of forest terrain where you got to roll every. I would like to know how often. So I guess the first thing is I love the table. I think it's very visual. All these roots and things. But I think we need a little structure here, right? How often are we supposed to be doing this? If it's every 10 minutes, every hour, just once in that particular, hex of terrain. I mean, that's no like what hexes we're talking about here, right? If they had said, hey, we have things in a 6 mile area, 6 mile hex of forest, and you would do this once? Is it for kind of random? I mean, it's random effects, but is it supposed to be like a random encounter that if they are moving through and we're doing kind of that zoomed out hex crawl slash travel kind of thing, that we would then zoom in? Because in the end, it's just a perception check for damage, right? You're just checking against taking some damage and falling prone. But if it's a travel scene, prone doesn't really mean anything because, okay, we do that and we get up. It means something if there's some other danger there, some other encounter there, and then this is a twist. There's something happening. You've been ambushed, and then you have this special effect. But they don't. Obviously, I can read these and I can determine how I would best use them. But this is where I think it would have liked a little bit more structure from the author to tell me, here's where you're supposed to bring these in. So let's read the second one. Oaken tree stumps set the boundaries of an old dirt path cleared by a past courier that journeyed upon the same forest. The path heads in the same direction the courier is going, but eventually comes to a stop. The path is not considered difficult terrain. So here's another one. It's a nice detail. But what is the decision here? One, so there's no check, which I don't mind, because I'm kind of torn on the whole, hey, make a check, and if you fail, you take damage or whatever, because it doesn't have anything to do with really your role playing. It's just you might as well just saying roll a saving throw, and on a failure you take 1d8 damage, right? The fact that we're instead rolling a perception check doesn't make it any more of a choice for the player. It's just roll or take damage, roll or something. So here, the second one, it's a nice opening. Okay, so here's this moment. We're in the jungle. We see these tree stumps. I would like to see a little bit more of how are we supposed to know this is a courier as opposed to just a guy who cut tree stumps, a logger, any kind of random guy, a goblins, a thieves guild, marauders that cut this path, right? What makes it? How do we know it's a courier path? And then a little bit more about that, right? This is where I'd almost like a subtable of, okay, you found this path. Does it lead somewhere? Does it lead nowhere? What does it mean if it leads nowhere? Well, if it leads at the dead end, are we going to find that courier's body? Why would a courier do that and then just take it to a dead end and then stop? So there's a lot there that it's not really telling me, and it's not really giving me an idea of what I'm supposed to do with this. Because if I just put it as a choice to the player, more than likely they're going to go, oh, okay, well, great, we got this shortcut. That would be great. Hey, you found this courier path. It's going to cut X amount of time off your travel. Great, take it. But now, okay, found this path. It's just a dead end. Well, okay, but I would want in there then to be the mechanics of either I'm rolling dice to see if it's a shortcut or essentially a long cut, because if it goes nowhere, then I have to backtrack and now I've lost time. And then as the courier player, what are they doing to try to figure out and mitigate those chances? Okay, is it just a nature check or a perception check? Is it something else? Some kind of action they can take to say whether this is going to be good and we should take it, or whether it's bad and we're not. Because as it is, it just doesn't say. It just tells us that it goes nowhere. It's like, okay, well, that's just a kind of a flavor that doesn't really lead anywhere. All right, last one, number 3. While traveling in the forest, a courier comes across a large stone cliff. A rope leading down the cliff is tied to a large rock. Etched into the rock are the words, by any means necessary. All right, so here's another moment. But again, it doesn't tell us much about what to do with it, and I can create that, but I would like there to be more. Is this supposed to mean by any means necessary? That's the courier's code. So we assume that then that rope is, I know, what is it telling us? Is it telling us that the rope's a good rope? Because we could probably just spend a minute and just get the rope and test it and make sure it's good. Is it telling us that going down the cliff as opposed to going another direction is the right move? Is this another one where we have 2 paths and we have to trust that that's a good one? You know, is it something where we should tie that, seeing that text to some kind of check or some kind of action, like on the underside of the rock or hidden or in some kind of glyph, and then maybe if the player looks for it, they'll find it or they won't, so we don't know whether it's a good, you know, again, there's a lot of possibilities there, but I just like a little bit more fleshed out what I meant to do with it, because otherwise I'm just reading out as a moment. Okay, it's forest area. Oh, here you see this thing, and it says there. And as a player, I might go, well, was I going to go down that cliff anyway? Yes. So you've saved yourself some rope because there's some rope here already. Or was there another way I was supposed to go? And you might, you know, we don't know, and it just doesn't really help with that. It's the germ of an encounter idea, but I think I need a little bit more. It's like it's I need more. I want more. And yes, I could do this work myself, but I just kind of want more. But there we get some forest ones. Let's see. I'm not going to go through all these. I'm assuming they're of kind of a similar take. Maybe I'll just do I don't know if they're going from, I guess I will read maybe one or two more just I just want to see the other end of the scale. So we read like 1, 2, 3. Maybe those are the ones that are the least helpful. So maybe I'll just read a 10 or a 9 and a 10 just to get an idea of if the scale, they get more favorable results as we go up the scale. So under snow and tundra terrain, we get this effect if we roll an 8. A cold wind blows the snow wildly, creating a whiteout, making it hard to see. The courier must make a perception check. On a failed save, the courier is temporarily blinded until their next turn. On their next turn, they can make the check again. Roll 1d4 to determine how many hours the whiteout lasts. Okay, so it's not any better than the other ones. It's worse, I guess. And this is one, it just needs, for me, and I don't know how other people are doing this stuff in 5e. I play a lot of OSR, old school kind of playing, in my mentality, even in 5th edition, is kind of old school. But here's the thing, right? If we're doing travel, their next turn, either you're talking exploration turns, and I don't even remember what the wilderness turn is. That's a long time, or if you're thinking like in combat and it's 3, 6 seconds, whatever, it doesn't matter. In the grand scheme of travel, that being blinded for 30 seconds or a minute makes or 10 seconds, whatever it is, makes no difference whatsoever. It's just annoying. And then I'm just chucking dice until I do it to figure out how many minutes. Or you just say, that they're rolled before how many, it'd almost be more, okay, so there's a whiteout and you just got to hunker down. Like, to me, a more useful result would be it's snowstorm so much you can do nothing but just hunker down, and we're going to roll to see how much time is lost. And then maybe you get an action or two, and we would decide maybe using some other wilderness rules to determine what you can do to avoid getting cold damage or somehow get frozen out. But just telling me that I'm blinded for a turn, I don't know what a turn is. And I know if I'm running my games and I'm doing exploration rounds in a dungeon, a turn is 10 minutes. But if a turn is a minute, or maybe I'd say in the wilderness, I would say maybe a turn is 3 or 4 hours if I kind of break it out in the same way that I would break it out in the dungeon. But if it's just a minute and a combat turn, what is that? Why? It doesn't matter. I'm just rolling a lot of dice. Or again, it's just like, hey, you're in this thing for 1d4 hours and you're blinded. But that when we're traveling, usually, unless there's something happening, you're in a macro scale. You're looking at it from a distance. So then mixing that with very micro details, they don't matter. Just the resolution runs out. That's the same thing with what I was saying before with that other one is, hey, if you're doing this for a minute, but we're talking about you traveling for hours, it's kind of like, unless the thing happens for an hour, it doesn't really impact. It's a negligible impact on your travel. Obviously, if the whiteout lasts for 4 hours, that is a big impact. But if you make your perception check, it doesn't even seem to really matter that much. So I might want to, I think these could be reworked away to make them a little bit more helpful. So that's number 8. So I'll just read one more from the jungle terrain. Let's just read number 10. So this is we read number 1 for the forest. It wasn't particularly good. It wasn't bad. 8 wasn't particularly good. So just in case, 10, just to get an idea. Another one, the courier comes across a cool waterfall leading into a nice creek running alongside them or the waterfall. The water is fresh enough to drink and can fill a water skin. There are also lots of fish swimming in the water that can be caught with a successful sleight of hand check. Okay, so there you got a water source. So that one is probably the most straightforward. You come across a water source, you can get some water. So yeah, I definitely would like to know how these fit in, not just as far as, okay, I could roll this randomly in the wilderness travel, but then I think I want them to be on that wilderness travel scale, or these are puzzles or encounters that I can run for couriers out in the wilderness, in which case I need a little bit more detail and a little more guidance on how I'm supposed to use them. But at the minimum, you are getting some inspiration for stuff. So it's not, I don't want to harp on it like it's a horrible thing. I just think it just could use a little extra. And then we have desert. I'll read number 9. The courier can see 1d4 minus 1, minimum of 1 camels. With a successful animal handling check, the camel can be mounted and doubles the speed at which they travel. Oh, there you go. Well, that one's a nice one, right? Find some camels. I mean, you could run that in anything. That's not particularly tied to being running kind of couriers and being in this guild. It's just kind of nice. But yeah, sure. Okay, here we have some adventure hooks. Let's see what they got. This one's called a spring chicken and is suggested for Paisley Page Boys. Paisley Page Boys, if you haven't, if you're just joining, and I see a couple people have joined, Paisley Page Boys is the first rank for this guild of couriers. That is so this would be one that you would want to do for whatever your beginner couriers were. It would be nice to know what level for characters. Maybe it doesn't matter, but this is kind of a whole separate hierarchy to your class levels. And I don't have a clear idea of at what point I should be allowing my players to try to become, part of the guild as couriers. What level they should be when they reach certain milestones within the guild. Maybe it doesn't matter. Maybe it does. But let's just read this one. An elderly woman named Jewel White Nail of Neverwinter has a small package that needs to be delivered to her in the depot. This is a fairly easy gig for an inexperienced courier. Though, as the courier reaches the destination, they are stopped by a pair of Lord's Alliance agents that state the package in possession contains illegal narcotic substances and demands the courier turn over the box. Your choices are few and time limited. Will the courier commit to the principles of the Palm's passing? So is this really is that really an adventure hook? Or is it really just kind of a... So we don't really get an idea of what it is. But we got the Neverwinter cops don't want you to have it, but you're supposed to. Your courier code, the first principle is you deliver your package, so you're not supposed to give it to them. That's a good test, I guess. But I feel like you could just add that to any particular courier job that they're on. I don't know that I would call that a hook, though. It's not really giving you a huge suggestion for an adventure. It's kind of giving you this moment. You got this easy gig. I guess the hook is, what do you do with those agents? But is that really an adventure, or is it just now you run a chase scene, or you turn it over, or are we supposed to think that if they take it, and they could take it by force, that now you're going to try to get it back? I'm not sure. This is one of those where I'm not sure where the adventure is supposed to be. They haven't really been clear about, here's the adventure. Is the adventure this whole delivery job, and then we have this moment with Lord's Alliance? Or is the adventure really the Lord's Alliance have taken this, we need to get it back in this time limit? How do we do that? Because that sounds like a cool adventure, right? Because it's almost, do we do it as a heist? Now these guys have taken it, but we're not imprisoned, so we're on the street. Are we trying to follow these guys? Are we trying to see if we can somehow get it away from them before they take it back to the precinct office or wherever it is, where it'll be out of reach of us? How do we do that? That's a cool little kind of mini adventure, I would say. It's not taking place over a lot of time, but there's something there. But I'm not clear that's actually what they mean. Let's read another one. This is another one for beginners. Beginner guild members anyway. Extra, read all about it. Victorio Casalanter has commissioned a routine delivery chit under the alias Mordium Rendoso that requires a pickup from a lowly wood elf boy named Marshall in the Field Ward of Waterdeep. Like, not Marshall Fields, but Marshall in the Field Ward, who has in his possession a bundle of letters held together with twine. Mordium requests that the bundle is picked up from the boy and that it is brought to a discreet location in the dock ward. Delivery will be made to a valet named Wilfor Crowell. The bundle of letters seems to be a series of communications back and forth between the patriarch of the Talmost noble family and a quote-unquote crystal. It appears incriminating. Well, how do we know it's incriminating? We're not supposed to read the letters. So what would we see from there to be incriminating? Are they saying that they would tell us it's incriminating? What are we doing to glean? Because the code, and for those who just joined, there is a code of the courier, and the code, your first principles, you're supposed to deliver the package, but either your second or third principles, you're not supposed to read or look in the packages. You're just supposed to take it and deliver it. Kind of like, again, like that Jason Statham movie that I can't remember the name of. I'm desperately racking my brain trying to remember, where, he's driving the car and he's got was the lady in the trunk, but he's never supposed to look, and then he looks. The code of the courier is you just deliver the package, regardless of what it is. So why would we know that it appears incriminating? Would just having a bundle of communications back and forth be incriminating? Yeah, I don't know. I'm not sure what I'm not sure what a good adventure hook for a courier is. I mean, certainly they're giving us information, they're giving us names, they're giving us things, but then they're giving us these things, these aspects of it that I'm not sure we're really supposed to be getting, or at least as a GM, you have to understand that your players may not put the time in to determine that it appears incriminating because they're not supposed to. If they're new to it and they've gotten a sense of what the rules of the guild are, they should not be reading the letters to even know that it's incriminating, or someone's going to tell them. But then what are they supposed to do about it? Thank you. Ovaltine Patrol, in with the wind, the transporter. Thank you. I kept thinking the driver. I'm like the delivery guy. Yes, the transporter. Right? You don't look at the package. The rule of the transporter. Well, this is basically transporters, the guild. So I'm not sure what we're supposed to do with that adventure hook. I'd have to think a little bit on what I want an adventure hook to be, but I'm not sure these are really scratching my adventure hook itch. I'm just going to read one more. Let's move on. Let's see some ones for some more advanced guild levels here. Flatten the curve. That's timely. Let's see. A flaming fist in the face. All right, let's see this one. Suggested for OG outgoers, which is, I think, basically mid-level guild. A merchant ship being escorted by the flaming fists to Baldur's Gate has been razed and plundered by the newly resourced pirate crew, the Colossi, led by their captain, the mad pirate lord Faust Altaman, who seeks to make the flaming fists pay for their involvement in his original crew's destruction. Unfortunately, the guild has found itself adjacent to all of the chaos. Though a glimmer of hope exists, the Palms Passing has been informed that several of their couriers and packages have been abducted by the pirates. A massive loss would have been incurred had the guild not been informed that those abducted couriers, along with their stolen cargo, are being stored somewhere near the Mere of Dead Men. A specialty chit has been produced for such an assignment. Free the kidnapped couriers, get your hands on as much stolen cargo as possible, and get them back to the closest postal depot for debriefing. Now that's more the adventure hook than I'm talking about. We got some prequel action. We're given something that's going to take it's got some meat on the bone. It's got some freedom as to how they want to approach it. We've got some enemies. We've got something. That's really what I want to see. And maybe I felt like it was lacking in a couple of those other ones. But now we're getting to it, right? This is a good one. It's not actually a courier job, which is, and maybe that's the problem, or not the problem, but obviously for courier jobs that are more or less straightforward, the adventure hook is just going to be deliver this courier, and then here's a twist. That's basically the first one I read was you're doing this thing for an old lady, everything's good. The twist is the cops show up and they want your package. But that one didn't really suggest anything you have to do about it. It doesn't suggest that you should be trying to figure out how the cops know about it, or what's up with that old lady, or if you lost it, now you get it back. Those kind of things. It just kind of throws that little blip on your radar. But this one gives you a whole set. So you got pirates, you got kidnapped things, you got to get what you can and get out. All right, so that's a good one. And let's see, there's just this last one, Lady of the Lake, the Mass Deliverer. That's one of the high end, if not the high end of the guild levels. Let's see what this one's like. Lady of the Lake, a coffin has been recovered from the depths of the Sea of Fallen Stars by a group of scientists who were excavating the relatively unexplored area. The coffin is startling, but their curiosity gets the better of them. Opening the box. Don't open the box. What's in the box? They find a perfectly preserved young female human. They seal her back within the coffin and bring her back to shore to perform further examination on her. A specialty delivery chit is issued to the Palms Passing, requesting that the coffin and its contents be brought to a laboratory in Baldur's Gate. And then there's a note saying, consider running this hook as a lead-in to the Baldur's Gate descent into Avernus campaign setting as part of the group's potential quote-unquote dark secret. Okay. I have Descent to Avernus, but I confess I haven't really read that much of it yet. So I don't know the dark secret part. Maybe a little more info would have been handy for that aspect, but I do appreciate it seems like a cool thing. We have this coffin. I mean, I feel like you could run that in. That could be like a Ravenloft precursor sort of thing. Obviously, Descent to Avernus. There's something in there. Maybe if I had knew more about Descent into Avernus, something would click in as to how those things relate. But the one thing that this is missing, so the one that I really liked, Flaming Fist in the Face, it gave you the enemies. It gave you these adversaries. You have a goal. These are what these adversaries, we don't really know we know an idea of what the adversaries want. It's not really directly wanting something from us, but clearly what they want is at odds with us. And so we have these kind of things. So this one, Lady of the Lake, we have an object, but it looks like it's really just a cut and dry delivery. I don't have enough of what the twist is. Where are the antagonists for this? Why is it not just an easy case of going and getting this? Is there something what's that coffin going to do? Is that lady somebody special? Is she creepy? Is the fact that they unsealed her and opened it up going to mean that when we go to get her, something's going to happen in her? Maybe she's not going to be there. She'll have gotten out of the coffin. She's been revived. And now what do we do? Right? I need more. I'm just going to go to the next page just in case that more is on the next page, but there's not. Okay, so we have some adventure hooks. Maybe a little bit. They're not the best I've ever read, but they're there for you. I appreciate their entry. I feel like they can be fleshed out or just need to be taken up a notch to really be the most useful for me, at least the way I like to do things. We do get a glossary here. The World Climber. That one might have been, I think I would have liked up front. I kind of got the gist of it, but he throws the term out there and doesn't really say what it is. And I don't know that enough context was given, but that's a small thing. But it's cool that we've got this here. The board of directors, Courier, Scratch. I don't think I need to read through those. We have an author's note. So the author's note is they wrote this supplement to bring a wildly common occupation to the forefront of the tabletop RPG world and make it something anyone would like to do. That's true. We get a little bit about the author, Ryan Hennessy, some links, some special thanks, and we're done. We're going back in time to the beginning of the book. All right. So I've read through it. Here we go. I was able to say the name of this guild, I want to say 9 times without twisting on the tongue twister. So I got one more time. So that was Palm's Passing Parcel and Logistics Guild, 10 for 10, I believe, by Ryan Hennessy. What do I think? I think it's got some potential. No, I think it's good. I think it's got its potential. I feel like it's maybe the damning it with faint praise in a way I'm not trying to do. There's a lot of good stuff in here. I think, yes, if you want to run a Courier or that style of campaign or that style of occupation, or you want to have your PCs in there, this is a good source book that will give you some material in there. I will say then, and if you've watched this, you probably saw there, I think there's some elements that probably could have been developed further. Some things don't always occur to you as an author. So when I read the Courier's Code, one of the first things that occurred to me was that, boy, that would make a great Paladin code. I could see there being a Paladin subclass, kind of the code of the Courier, or something like the way of the transporter, right? The code of the transporter Paladin. What might that be? It didn't occur to the author, right? And of course, not everything occurs to them, but it's almost like sometimes with these, you have to. I think as an author, you want to think about, well, how can I really take this up a notch, right? And maybe that's where this falls short a little bit. Not that there's not good stuff here, because there is, and I think it would be useful for a lot of people. I'm not sure how much it goes for. You're getting about 20 pages, and a lot of it is good stuff. There's a little bit of confusion, I felt like, with the hierarchy that at the end didn't quite make as much sense, and I would have liked that spelled out a little bit more. I wasn't sure how to read the last 2 ranks. They never did have a chart of just giving me, a kind of graphical depictions of the patterns. The patterns are supposed to be from, Paisley to, to OG, to these other, all these things, chinoiserie are all supposed to be set patterns. We're supposed to kind of, when you see someone with a pattern, it's supposed to give you an idea of their rank. But not everyone's going to appreciate just the text descriptions of those. Some people are just more visually oriented, and there's no reason why not to put. There's plenty of space on those pages to give a little representation, a box, a little rectangle that says, here's what this looks like. Or just give me a page chart that's got all the ranks in order, what the patterns are. You could even put in there kind of what the levels with the prestige markers. There's not maybe as much given, I think, to having to work out how these levels fit in with your class levels. And again, I was thinking about, well, what level at level 1 should I just have them be going in? This should be something that I offer starting at 3rd level. When should this, when should I start reeling them in with this? And what levels should I be trying to earmark when they're getting these other ones? So when they're getting to those upper levels, should that be, what the 4th tier or whatever, 18, 19, 20? Is this something that they should finish out earlier? What does that fit with that? Or, where does it fit in? How do these two things? So we got class levels here and we got these levels here. Where do they line up? So that would have been something that I would have liked. I think there was kind of a bit of missed opportunity to get kind of a paladin class in there. It just seems so natural when you have this code here. We have a whole class that's based on their fidelity to a code. It just seems like a no-brainer just to make one and put that in there. Would have been a nice to have. It's not lacking there not being one. It's just, again, just a little bit of missed opportunity. Oh, put that in. The random tables for kind of challenges in the wilderness. So I say random tables for challenges in the wilderness. They don't actually say that that's what they're for. I would have liked some more to know how to use these. You're giving them, they kind of emerge almost like little seeds of things, but I don't know there's enough in the moment to use them. I can see rolling these and just kind of going, okay, this doesn't really actually help me very much. So maybe I'm not sure how I'm supposed to be using them, and I'm not sure the way that they're set up helps me to use them in the way that I would. But again, I don't know. I would like that little bit of authorial. Here's how you use this. When you're running travel with your courier, and that's another thing, travel rules. And 5th edition, I come from an OSR background, so I have all kinds of travel rules sitting around. I have travel rules in my brain. I have travel rules from Basic Expert. I have the Wilderness Adventurers Guide or whatever it's called from way back in the day. I've got tons and tons of travel rules I can draw. But 5th edition crowd, they don't necessarily have them. I don't know, even depending on what campaign books they've picked up. I don't know. Does the DMG have travel, like good travel procedures? I don't remember. Maybe they do. Maybe they don't. I don't know if you go back and look at Tomb of Annihilation, if it did, because it had a hex crawl element. But would have been nice to put in, if you just had this and maybe you just had the basic boxes, or maybe you just had some other materials, give me some travel rules. And how do these tables fit into those travel rules? How am I supposed to use them? And then for the adventure hooks, they're okay. I read a couple of them. There's one, a couple I felt like could use some work. One of them I thought was really good as a hook, and the third one was kind of in between. I just think maybe just needs another round of, let's go back through these, make sure that, what do I think about for hooks? Maybe saying, here's what the players see, here's what the GM has. I think from a GM, I want to see stuff like, who's the antagonist? What are the obstacles they can expect? Something like that, There's just this kind of general information, whereas one of them, it's like the hook is really just a twist on any job. And then, kind of a mix. So I feel like this could be kind of taken up a notch, but they're not bad. Nothing's bad. I think it's a good supplement, but maybe if there is a version 2, those are the suggestions I would make, just to kind of take it from kind of, just take it up and just, it's got room. It hasn't maximized its potential, but I do dig it. Guilds I like in general. Doesn't everybody like guilds? Couriers are one of those jobs that comes up a ton in D&D games. It's natural that people are going around doing courier type stuff. So I think if that interests you and you want to put your characters or put your players into a life of transporting things, then this is probably useful to you. Anyhow, that is Palm's Passing Parcel and Logistics Guild by Ryan Hennessy. Thanks for watching, and I will talk to you later.